All right, so basically, in the first, oh, you bad girl. That's my dog Molly barking at some noise she heard. But anyway, in the first 6 vlogs I made, I basically talked about how I found out I had leukemia and what's happened to me between then and now, to now being May 28th. This is day minus 11 for me, meaning in 11 days I'm going to have a blood transfusion. I mean, and a my bone marrow transplant, which basically is like a blood transfusion because, believe it or not, and this surprised me, but the bone marrow just comes in a bag and it just hangs there and they put it through a pump and they put it in your PICC line just like you're getting a transfusion. I don't know why I thought they would, like, make a hole in your spine or something or in a bone and, jam it in there and then hopefully it would spread around, but apparently it just comes in through the bag. So I got approved for the bone marrow transplant. In May, I did a series of tests at OHSU in order to determine my health level for the bone marrow transplant. And I didn't realize it, but apparently there's a scored scale that they use based on how you respond to certain aspects of the test. There's a CT scan where they check your test, check your lungs, see how they're looking. They did another bone marrow biopsy. They did a lumbar puncture where they took out some of the spinal fluid and then replaced it, I think, with a chemo drug to kill that all off. But don't quote me on that. But that was my understanding when I heard it explained to me. They had me go HSU, and I took this test where I had to breathe into this tube really hard and follow the instructions of the person who was assessing me on this test, telling me when to breathe and when to inhale and when to exhale and all this kind of stuff. So anyway, just a battery of tests to make sure my heart and my lungs and my overall health was good enough to go through the bone marrow transplant, because apparently this next chemotherapy regimen I'm going to go through is basically more like your grandmother's chemotherapy. The other chemotherapies I've taken to this point were targeted, going after certain things, certain aspects of my blood and the cells. This next one, the thought is to kill the bone marrow that I have left completely. No more bone marrow. And then I get in someone else's bone marrow. I'm not using a family member. I'm using an unrelated donor from a network of donors all around the world. I don't know where this donor is coming from. I don't know if it's a U.S. donor or outside the U.S. I did ask, but they didn't have the information at their fingertips. I saw my bone marrow specialist here 4 days ago and received the news that I scored a -3 on all the tests, which means I can have the bone marrow transplant. I got -1 for my heart condition. Apparently there's some abnormalities with my heart, the way it's shaped and the thickness of the walls or something like that, and the thickness or the size of the chambers. So they assessed me a -1 on that. And then I was a smoker for 37 years, so obviously I have some sort of lung damage. And apparently I wasn't blowing hard enough or whatever, or had big enough lung capacity for the test. So my lung damage is moderate as opposed to mild, as opposed to severe or other levels. And I scored a -2 on that. But based on my bone marrow doctor's recommendations, that's good enough. I'm in good enough health for the bone marrow transplant. Apparently -5 is a no-no, and they would have to delay it. And I don't know what your outcome would be. I mean, how do you improve your lung function? How do you improve your heart function? I don't know. But I don't have to cross that and figure it out. So I'm at day -11. I go in May 31st, today being May 28th. Coincidentally, May 31st is also my last day as a UPS man or UPS driver. So happy retirement to me. Starting June 1st at like 1 a.m. They're going to start with the chemotherapy. The first drug they're giving me is Butason or something like that, Butason, and I'm getting that for 4 days. And that's to kill the bone marrow. And then they're giving me another drug for 2 days after that. They didn't tell me the name of it, so I don't know. I'm going to do a daily vlog starting May 31st. And then June 1st and June 2nd and June 3rd, and every day of my, as long as I can keep doing them, just so I can give you a little update or check-in how I'm doing on each day, with day 0 being the day I get the bone marrow transplant. There's a bunch of things that can happen with the bone marrow transplant. Rejection. They have anti-rejection drugs. It could cause some lower intestinal problems. They have drugs for that. So they really want to keep an eye on like bleeding down there, either through the urinary tract or rectally. And I guess it's because the blood vessels down there are kind of thinner in those areas, so they have a better chance to rupture. And anyway, it can cause some severe problems. There will be hair loss with this chemotherapy round. There'll be vomiting, there'll be diarrhea. So we'll see what shape I'm in, and if I can even hold the recorder up on any given day to give you an update. So it should be a real shit show, and we'll see how it goes. But I'm optimistic. I'm in pretty good physical shape, and I'm hoping everything will turn out okay, especially for my family, if not for me. Anyway, I see I'm running a little late here. I'll talk to you on May 31st. I'll try and give you any information I forgot about what's coming up with this bone marrow transplant, but I think I kind of covered everything to expect. Anyway, you'll get to see it firsthand, day by day as it happens. So anyway, ta-ta for now, and wish me luck. Talk to you in a few days.